All right, guys, we're gonna start from the back, not like that, but we're gonna start with the trades that I took towards the end of the day since they're a little bit more fresh, and then make our way towards the beginning of the day. I didn't have any losses today. I actually was down on Apple about like 30%, but it was planned to be a swing, and I was trying to add into certain levels to get some exposure at levels I thought would reject. Ultimately, I came out 25% on that and then stopped the rest break even. So that was the closest I got to a loss. But let's jump in real quick. I'll show you guys the lotto section because this is not really that big of a deal, right? This is just a trade that I ended up taking. Not a ton of size on it, but I took SPY, right? Like early in the morning, I would say, yeah, 9:37. I grabbed 42.90s at 50 cents. They ended up going up like 100%, 120%, but I took full, like back on 80, I think. It pulled back a little bit. Nothing super crazy. Lottos I usually don't have any size on, but this was something I was just looking at, so I figured we'd review it, right? If we start from the daily/weekly, you guys will see a recurring theme with pretty much every trade today, because that's how your trade should be, really, honestly. They should be taken off higher time frames, executed on smaller time frames, and then obviously you can look at the hourly. Some people like the 30, whatever you like to do. You have that kind of middle ground, right? That could really almost audible what your daily/weekly bias is or whatever the setup that you're looking for. Those mid time frames are really good for doing a quick audible if needed or invalidating. But yeah, this was what I was looking for on SPY, right? You have your weekly level here that's been a pretty good spot for multiple weeks. And then we had our swing low, right, on the daily. This is what QQQ hasn't broken yet. This is what I'm looking for a lot of these tech trades. But this was the spot here, right? So I had this little zone marked out. You guys will see in the red highlight. And oh, there's like a white line up here. That's so weird. I didn't even notice that. But long story short, right? Market ended up kind of rallying here, pushed up, pulled back. I don't really know why this caught right here. It's a strange spot for where it got caught, but yeah, definitely still a higher low. Maybe it just kind of took out this little initial higher low here. Rated it just a tad and then went. But yeah, then it ended up getting a nice push out. Started to consolidate here, but on the first tap, you'll notice right here into my supply. Usually the first one is going to be your most likely, I guess, area for success. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. But this is going to be the strongest usual reaction, I guess is the best way to put it. So I ended up taking those at 9:37. So somewhere off this candle and this candle, right in between one of these two. I think I got it as it pushed back up, but the 15-minute did confirm that there was a rejection off of this spot. So I took this, right? I was looking for a retest of the initial high day. You can see, right, it kind of before any of this chop right here started to happen, this was actually the first major pull down and test actual touch of this level. So as it pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, right? Usually on Mondays, I've been a little bit more cautious. So, on anything SPX or SPY, I'll usually buy some time, or if I don't, I usually scale pretty quickly or I don't go heavy. In this circumstance, I took full profits as it hit 430.76, so that initial high. I know that we've seen some crazy moves on SPX where we've gotten some major drops. I don't ever trade for that, guys. I'll try to just trade for whatever the R multiple that I plan for is, and that's how I found the most success. A lot of times, if you're just holding for crazy levels or these crazy things, you'll hit it sometimes, but more often than not, you're going to lose on it. And I think it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Eventually, you'll lose more than you'll win, and that will hurt because SPX does move pretty aggressively. So this came down, tested this initial high, and then obviously just chopped in this spot, right? We developed a lot of buy side liquidity. And this was actually an interesting spot. I just want to review it real quick. A lot of people ask me, like, what is liquidity? How do you see it? This is liquidity, right? You're getting, just imagine how many millions of dollars of orders are right here, right? And you can see this, and it's visible through these wicks, right? These wicks are buyers pushing price up, push price up, push price up. And they did it for so long, and they held a bid here at this level. And eventually, the concept of absorption occurs. It can happen on the bid side as well. Sellers absorb a lot of these bids, right? And it sells under. But you got to think, right? A lot of these guys get, like, stopped out, right? If you're going long here, you're going to put your stop, I don't know, maybe like somewhere down here, 20% underneath this, 15, 30%, whatever your stop is, right? Some people put it at different variations, but it cleared out those guys, kind of rated their stops, pulled down, and then obviously made its way back into the range and pushed out. But that was a crazy spot, right? I mean, even if you look at it this way, it wasn't random. Came down perfectly to the 618, 429.98. I did not participate in that one, but I just thought it was worth a quick chat because a lot of people always ask me what liquidity is, and when you start to chop like that, you got to realize you're going to get some at the highs and the lows, which are equal highs, equal lows. Typically, one side, right, will get swept, and that's the side, unfortunately, that's going with the trend, right? So if you're like going long and the trend is long and you're getting liquidity buildup, it'll usually sweep the buy side, right, or the bulls, and then continue with the path of least resistance and make its way back up. If it's a bearish trend, right, it'll sweep usually sell side and then make its way down. So just as something, if you guys want to note that down, this is a good example today of that in real time. Obviously, it's hindsight now, but try to see these in real time whenever you can and just be patient, wait to execute on it. So let's go ahead and look at the next trade. All right, so first play of the day, actually, we'll just kind of make our way back to the beginning, was QQQ, right? I ended up swinging 929, 354 puts. Reason for that, obviously, was this disgusting weekly candle. And I really think that, I think Apple or Amazon is going to be the leader for QQQ to sweep this swing low on the daily, right? If you guys go look at SPY, we'll just go on a quick little tangent here. SPY already took this level out right around here, right? And it traded into the weekly. I think QQQ's got to do the same, and one of these big names has to give, and I think it's Amazon or Apple. So, I mean, I favor downside continuation. On the bearish side, we've been seeing continuation work really well, and puts have just been moving like butter. I was right on this one, which was really nice. So, we can go to the chart really quickly. I actually ended up waiting on Friday, right? We had this nice move up, pushed here, hit the higher low, right? Came down, and we never retested it on the way down. It did catch this previous day low here for, if you guys, like I said, I never take credit for anything that I do on some of these concepts. This is an ICT silver bullet, right? Right at this specific hour at 11 o'clock, you usually see reversals at whether it's weekly highs, weekly lows, previous day highs, previous day lows, etc. Right? They'll try to get one side off sides, especially after a big waterfall like this. So the previous day low actually was like right. Oh, yeah, it never even got to it. This was just an intraday sweep, so never mind. I was looking for an 11 o'clock sweep though, so that worked out pretty nice. But I actually was going to go long here. Ended up not getting what I thought were the correct variables for a silver bullet, which looking back on it, I guess I was right. But this rallied, right, and it ended up pushing back up, retesting 360.45/360.50. And then it obviously started to sell off. And I think I caught the sell off like right on this candle here where I ended up swinging short. And then obviously we got a gap down slightly and then push down here. So that was the initial move this morning, and I ended up going about like 30% on that, but I ended up adding into the position, right? I ended up getting back into the position, adding some of the cuts that I had. So I ended up only getting 16 to 20. I think I ended up going like 20% from a 30% win, right? Because my cost average goes up when you size into a winner. Some other people were a lot higher than me. I think some were like 30, 40. So congrats on that to anybody in the Discord. What did I end up doing from here? Oh, let's talk about Tesla. This is something I didn't alert. I don't know why I didn't do this. I didn't explicitly type it out. You guys might have seen this on Twitter. Dude, this is so easy. This is what frustrates me sometimes with people. And I'm not coming at the guy at all. The guy's a really nice guy. I ended up DMing him. But like just looking at your higher time frame bias in a sense and understanding what is going to happen. We're still in an uptrend on Tesla, right? I mean, this right side of the chart, you're going to start looking to maybe short pops depending on the weekly candles, the daily candles, the volume, but we haven't broken any major structure. So this weekly spot here, tied in with this daily kind of level here, creates a small demand zone, right? 237.40 to 240.70. You guys can see like this level's been respected a ton. Obviously it broke through here in this little cluster here. But I mean, all the highs were respected, right? It retested this zone. We had a markup off of this level here, right? With this big day, consolidated, broke out. Now, obviously, had an opportunity to retest. This is a zone you can't really ignore, right? And it's a good risk reward. So I think it's always worth pulling a shot on this. And really, right, that was part of my weekly scan on Sunday. And look how this played out this morning. Like somebody asked me, like, why did I take this if it was a rising wedge? Look, guys, like look how easy this was. comes down, wicks into my level, even if you don't get the wick, right, and you don't like take that risk, which I don't recommend doing, you always want to wait for candle closes. But let's say you just took it off this level, just the mere concept that it came into this $3 demand, you would have had a crazy entry, right? But let's say you get the close, you're not going to be uncomfortable. You got to be willing to lose, obviously, down either the low a day or below 237.40, but it consolidated, moved out, held the previous day low, consolidated, and now it's probably going to move up to target, right? 252 short term. But once again, if you're on a smaller time frame, this is going to look so difficult because you're just looking at patterns and you're looking for like I guess like the best way to put it is anything that shines, you're going to go after. When reality, sometimes the best things in life, I don't know why I'm going on this tangent, but the best things are things that you have prepared for and that you're patient for, right? And just being comfortable in your own charting and your own analysis, being patient for the sell-off into a demand, taking the risk, right? Whether that was the candle close, if you took it as it dips into the level, I don't care, right? But you're throwing away that for this, right? And I know exactly what people probably saw was this, right? Probably grab this little top part, hold it here. And they think it's a rising wedge. Now, you missed this RR here and this entire ride up thinking this is a wedge. You probably went short here, right? And instead of getting a 30% really good RR trade, maybe like a 4R, especially if this goes to target, right? Let's actually even just draw this. Let's say you get in here and you risk the low, right? This is just from a chart perspective. Let's say you get, let's actually do the full R, right? You're throwing away basically a 9R, right? Because you're scared or you're afraid of the pattern or whatever the case may be. Now, you probably just get in because it's a fucking rising wedge. Let's say you get in here. You probably don't even know what your risk is. Let's just assume it's like right there. And now, what's your target? Probably here. You threw away a 9R for, I guess that's a 2.37. But a lot of people they're gonna want more out of that. They're gonna want the full break. They're probably gonna try to target low a day. Come on, you're throwing away very good quality setups for things that are just shining right in front of you. And I say it all the time. Patterns are so subjective, and I do trade patterns. Don't get me wrong, but when you miss things, you can't just go searching for patterns on smaller time frames or be fearful of a pattern when it's not really in line with whatever your bias is or what the daily or the weekly is telling you. So that was that. I think I went like 25% so far. I took Tesla 300s for December 15th. I did grab it in here, right? I think I was a little bit more risk on with this trade, which is why I didn't explicitly type it out. I just typed out that we were in the demand. But this was from my weekly scan video. But I was a little more aggressive here, so I don't think that's why I typed it out. But yeah, about 20-25% on that. I won't cut this either. We'll just go right into the next trade. What did I take? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so this was the daily weekly. I mentioned that here. I did take Apple. Remember, I kind of have not necessarily a bias, but I do think Apple does come down. I wasn't wrong. This was supposed to be in my swing section, so I want to add into positions, right? I don't have to have a perfect entry, right? A lot of big money doesn't have perfect entries because A, they're swinging, B, they have a shit ton of money, right? So like for me personally, I can add 1 or 2 contracts at a level that I deem is okay to get exposure at, and then if I'm wrong, right, I just wait to my next level, add into that, and then if it invalidates my daily/weekly thesis, shit, I'll take my loss, But I usually don't exceed like 10 contracts, 15 contracts for swings unless I'm really confident. But yeah, I added in on this one, Apple 170 puts at 644, right? So I think I tried to initially fade this high right here, okay? So, because it was right around, where was it? There's a level over here. Either way, I think it had to do with the close, if I'm not wrong, but might have just been the intraday high. But basically, I think I shorted like right around somewhere in here. Ended up pushing out, obviously getting over the initial high. I held through this, of course, because I had plans to add into 177. I'll show you guys that here in a little bit. But initial spot was 176 and then 177. I was going to add in 2 spots. But yeah, sold down. Ended up going green on the position as we made our way to the previous day low. Yeah, previous day low. Of course, rallied against me as the whole market ended up doing. And I'm not really too concerned with these swings. Like I said, I'm not I'm not averaging into these candles, freaking out. I'll keep my contracts and wait till we get to levels, right? And then if it hits the level, shows me confirmation, I'll add, right? And usually I won't have more than 2 spots, okay? And if with this on Apple, right, I feel like this is justification, right? We had this initial high here. If it breaks above that, I'm willing to risk, maybe somewhere up here, right? That I would probably have to cut and take that, but that's the invalidation, in my opinion, of the entire short thesis. For what I was willing to take on my expirations, it was this level here, which is the hourly 176, and then right here, right, 177, which was the 20 seconds high, right, so Friday. So that was a pretty easy loss, in my opinion, where I can add 2 spots. If I'm wrong, close, right, and I can look for a new short up here, because it's still not invalid until it breaks above here, right? But yeah, that was, go back to this really quickly. Of course, we had this big move out, right? Started to push out, pushed even through our levels. So I actually never added at 176, and I was very clear on that. I never added here. I did re-add. Oh, I have to go over this too. Oh my God, there's a lot of trades I have to go over. I did re-add my QQQ puts. I don't know if I mentioned that. I did do this initial size in, right? But I took a whole new trade on that. We'll talk about that here in a second. That ended up going like 25%. I got like fills at 2, what was it? 2.7, I think. Yeah, 2.7. But I did note, right, that Apple low a day, QQQ 618. So I knew a bounce was coming. So that's why I never really added back into Apple. We'll go to, yeah, here it was. So once Apple ended up kind of going a little bit, I showed my position. I only had 3 contracts. I was down about 30%. But yeah, I already clicked that. I was looking to add at 177 and size in one time and then evaluate from there. So of course, market ended up rallying, pulled back onto my level, right? Held. So I'm not going to add into a break and base over my level, especially with an hourly. I'd rather take a daily. So it pushed up, hit my daily, obviously came down, pushed up one more time, and this is where I took my next, I guess my ads here, right? Kind of an intraday lower high on this side of the chart, right? Right off my level. I'll take that and I'll risk this level now. And then of course made its way down, held my level one more time, made its way down, retested the hourly. So I kind of knew I was in the right trade at this point, and then it made its way even further, right? Now, I'll show you guys here in a second. I noted the 618, but this was a pretty crazy chart here because take a look. We had a fair value gap on this spot here with this 5-minute candle. So this area right here, right, was never retested. So that's why I had this black line drawn across. And then if we take our fibs, right, from the low to the high, I mean, shit, you not perfect 618. This was a little less perfect, but this is why I exited the majority of my position. I showed you guys on the thing because literally a perfect 618 touch and then rallied, right? And then I ended up closing my position as we made our way to 176, mainly because we have data, but I felt like, the trade that I felt like could have gone to low a day, the fact that it wasn't doing that, we got another bounce. I really don't want to sit through this again. I think that's probably my downfall with swings is I get a little bit impatient and I don't see things through if it doesn't happen right away. So you took the win on that, on Apple. Let's go back to that QQQ trade really quickly because I did add one more time. Where was it? One second, guys. I might have to cut this really quickly. Sorry for the cut. So this was the ad. So QQQ, if you guys saw, right, I probably should have done Qs first because I never actually, right, I took half profit on that. I took Apple, right, and then I started to go red on Apple. But then I re-added Qs, right? So this was that swing that I got half out. I re-added my cuts at 2.16. And then I mentioned 358, 58, daily resistance. That's the line in the sand between me flipping back bullish, if we can get over that and hold, or right, it either rejects and I get my win off of that. So I ended up adding back there at what time? 6:57. So you guys can see, right, if you remember the daily chart on QQQ, 358 was right here, 358.58. Okay, got close to that level. The morning, right, we got the gap down. This is where I closed half, and then it started to make its way up into our spot, broke through previous day low, hit our 358.58. I added again, And you guys will see where I got a nice little move down. This is where I got my second win on QQQ. So the same position, right? The swing, just milked it twice, really. This is where I got like that 20-25% win on the Riyadh. Of course, this is what I was talking about, guys. So this was the initial QQQ move, right? So kind of pulled down, hit the 618, kind of hovered in here a little bit, and then it had a small move under the initial higher low. Or actually, no, it just kind of held the higher low, so never mind. But held this level right around the 618 and then rallied off of that. Now, this is also, as this rallied, okay, this is where I just kind of waited. This is where the last little clip you guys saw, I just waited on Apple to hit 177. So sorry for the confusion on that one. Apple I took, and then I took QQQ because QQQ hit a level. I guess this was technically in tandem right here. So at this, if I had just sized into Apple right here, I would have caught QQQ and Apple in the same move. But that was that. What else did I take? I think that was really it in terms of like intraday stuff. Yeah, everything else I kind of have active right now. Oh, no, I took a NVIDIA trade. Wow, I forgot completely about this one. Earlier in the day, right, I try to go on multiple channels and give whether I think it's going to be longer term, shorter term, right, or a lotto, a quote unquote lotto. But I did see NVIDIA sizing up really nicely. If you guys don't know, I've been looking at AMD. That's been one of my primary focuses to go long on. But I use NVIDIA a lot of the times to gauge just how chips are moving. Hopefully that should make sense to a lot of you guys. But NVIDIA looked really good. It had a clean kind of touch of a resistance level, and then it pulled back into like a flag almost. Mainly I was looking at the pullback in terms of the volume, and just a very controlled sell-off. So I looked at NVIDIA 435s. This was initially supposed to be my only intraday trade, right? Like the only aggressive weekly contracts. But I ended up taking this based off the 15-minute higher low. I got a 2.9 fill. My stop loss was like 2726. And I ended up getting these to pretty much 4.0. I was looking to trade that all the way to high day. We'll go take a look at NVIDIA. Here's the 5. But if we take a look here, right, kind of the same. You guys will see it, man. A lot of these are pretty much the same, where you have like these push downs, right? You have like a daily level here. You have your swing low. And really, I was looking for it to get back above this spot here, this little green 420 level, and then the previous day high. You guys will see, though, if we go to the 15, right, those levels should be initial resistance, okay? We got a good opening print on the 15 and a secondary one that had just as much volume for a break through 420, which is a great, great break, right? And then you had the previous day high, right? And look at the levels here, right? This is like a little porcupine type look. There's a lot of sellers here, a lot of asks to get through, and the fact that it got through that easily, right? And then the pull down should have been a lot harsher in terms of bars and then the volume. Look how the volume just dies off, right? For how crazy this little spot was, that should have been a much deeper retracement. Even, I would have expected at least a move down to like 618 midway through. It barely got to discount, guys. I mean, it didn't even get to the 0.5, but I felt like it was good enough, right? If we look at the chart and we just go here, that's what it looked like in my perspective. Next candle opened, I didn't see it spike under. So I just pulled the trigger, right? And I risked this low here, and we ended up getting a really, really nice move. Typically for these trades too, you don't want to try to, just get, as soon as it starts to move in your favor, you don't want to cut those. You obviously can if that's how you trade, but this is why I had this line here. I wanted to either get a move close to the high or get a new high, right, a higher high. So I think I got full cuts right here. Honestly, I think I got it like right at 3.7 to 4 from a 2.9 entry. So went about 30-35% on these as well, and I just took full profits. That's kind of my motto lately on Mondays, especially with any data-heavy weeks. Monday or any day leading up to the data have just become base hit days. So 25-30% trades, I treat them like they're like 80 to 100% wins. I'm very happy with them. I take full profits. Sometimes I'll leave a runner or two, but that's about it. But nothing crazy with this trade. Very, very simple, break of old resistance, sell off, of course, through that level, and it didn't have an aggressive sell off. It really just retraced and became a higher low. Ideally, it would have pulled back to like the 618 or something a little bit cheaper. But it's all good. It was held very nicely, and I just took that trade, was willing to lose. I think that's the biggest thing. And really, yeah, and it was a tight risk too. I mean, if this pulled down any lower, 2.9 to 2.7, I've only would have lost 20 points, which is not bad at all. I think that's less than an 8% loss. And then milking it to the high here, really good trade. So that was it for today. I took about 5 to 6 trades, which I usually don't do, but all wins, all around 20, 25, 30%. And yeah, it's going to set up the week very, very nicely. So, as always, guys, if you have any questions, anything like that, just feel free to DM me. I'm an open book, just as long as I have time, and it's as long as it's within my parameters, right? I don't want to be helping you out of a bad position or giving you guys any advice on things that I don't personally take myself, right? This is just how I trade and kind of my own little journal. But hopefully everyone does good this week. We have a lot of data. We have PAL on Thursday. We have a quarterly OPEX on Friday. So just trade safe, be smart. Market's always there, so don't do anything crazy. But love you guys. Appreciate you guys always watching and supporting.